Hey there, Altos. Welcome to our Teaching Through Repertoire series on Galactic Adventure. We're going to take this first part and we're going to walk through the whole piece and talk about any new things, any things that might stick out and be tricky, and we'll go and we'll break down the piece part by part after that and section by section. But this first part, we're just going to walk through it, talk about some new notes, new fingerings, and new ideas that maybe we haven't covered in class yet. The very first thing when the piece starts, we have a word up there that says mysteriously. Mysteriously is telling us both the tempo, the speed we're going to take, and the style with which we're going to play the music. So mysteriously generally means kind of like spooky, you're not sure, you're looking around. Usually that's a fairly slow tempo, slow, and long notes, long phrases, sometimes pretty, but a little bit haunting in the melodies there. The other thing we have that's new right at the beginning is a 4 with a bar underneath it. And that's what we call a multi-measure rest. It's a long rest, so instead of drawing out 4 separate whole rests, they just combine it into one, so you know you need to rest there for 4 measures. And the way we count that is a little different. You can just multiply, you can be like, well, it's 4/4, so there's 4 beats in a measure, and I gotta rest for 4 measures, so I'll count to 16, and I'm done. And that will work, but it's not the way we generally count anything in music, because if you get distracted somewhere, you'll be lost and you won't know where you were and you can't start back over because the music's going to keep going. So the way we generally count that is we just count 1, 2, 3, 4 for every measure, but then we replace 1 with whatever number of rest we're on. So in this case, we're going to go to 4. So we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, ready, play. We play on that next beat. So if you count that way, it'll help you stay there, and it'll help you, especially if you get longer rests. 4 bars is pretty easy. You could probably count to 16 without getting distracted. But if it was 40, all of a sudden you'd have to count to 160 without getting distracted, and that's not going to happen just about whoever you are. Something shiny is going to flash out there, and it's going to take your attention, and then you're not going to know what happened. So count to 4 each time and replace that number. So let's try that while we clap and count this. We're going to clap and count just up to measure 13, just to try that, just to try our counting. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, ready, go. Ta, 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 dee, ta, ta. Ta, ta, dee, ta, 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 dee, ta. Ta, dee, ta, ta, dee, ta, ta, dee, ta, dee, ta, ta. That brings us to our next new idea. That's why we counted all the way to measure 12. You have a little funny arc with a dot over that note. That's called a fermata. Say fermata. Fermata is a symbol that tells us to extend the note longer than its normal value. When you have a conductor or somebody up in front leading you, they tell you how long to hold that out for. They'll hold their hands up and you'll just keep playing until they put them down. Maybe they go out to lunch, they leave their hands there for you. But you hold it out as long as they tell you to. If you don't have a conductor or somebody telling you to, in this case, right now I'll be playing it with you when we do it, so I can't conduct you. But you generally hold it 2 times the regular value. So it's a whole note, it's a 4-beat note, so we'll hold it 2 times that. So we're going to hold it for 8 beats. Another new thing right on that note is a G sharp. That's a note we have not seen and you definitely have not learned in your book yet. You have learned G. You've got 1, 2, 3, G. To get G sharp, we're just going to add that pinky, the closest one right to you. You got 4 keys on that little spatula down there, and it's the closest one to you. A lot of times it'll be a pearl like mine. Sometimes it'll be silver. It's almost always different. It's either a different type of metal or a different color than every other thing, but it's the little skinny one right there close to you. So G and that key will give you G sharp. It's right next door, just a little bit higher. You have one more new note in there. If you look all the way down at the bottom of the page, the last note, the last 2 notes of the piece is a C sharp. That's another one we haven't learned. You've learned C, your middle finger, and you've learned D, but C sharp is in between them. And the only thing to do, because we don't have any more keys, is we just got to let go of everything. C sharp on a saxophone is open. No fingers down on either hand for that octave of C sharp. No octave key, no nothing. You always want to keep your hands on the keys. Don't let them fly away because that'll change your sound and also make it harder for you to get back. But open, no keys are down. So from C, you just lift that finger up. And coming from B, the note before it, if you look down at the end of your music, you come from B, you just lift that up too, and it gives you C sharp. So C sounds like this, and C sharp. C sharp can be a pretty hard note to play with a good tone and with a good sound, and to play in tune, meaning we match pitches with each other. So you got to really listen to yourself and make sure you're getting a nice sound out. Because there's nothing holding your saxophone in place, so if everything's not really stable and sturdy with your embouchure, it's going to be easy for things to move and give you kind of a gross tone there. So really listen to yourself and make sure you're honest, and that you're getting a nice tone out of C sharp. If not, work on it and see what you need to fix, what you need to hold in place to get that to really be solid. A couple other new things that we need to talk about before we move on to playing and clapping the piece. We have another marking, another word, vigorously at measure 13. That's another tempo/style mark, and that's going to tell us that the tempo vigorous is, the exact opposite basically of mysteriously as far as tempo goes. Mysterious was nice and slow and hunting. Vigorous is somebody's in action, they're going, spaceship started flying. This is Galactic Adventure, so we started just kind of floating through space mysteriously, and now engines are going, we're heading to warp speed, and we're going to go fast. It also tells us the style that we're going to play is not going to be this kind of spooky looking around, not knowing what's going on anymore. Now we're very directed, we're very focused on what we're doing. We're vigorously going to play through the rest of this piece. You also have some dynamic markings, and we talked about those a little bit. Those are the Fs and the MPs that are on your page, and the MF. Those tell you how loud. Dynamic means how loud or soft we play. So at the first one you see, you don't have one at the beginning, but the first one you see is measure 9. You have an F. F is forte. Say forte. Forte means loud. Should be a little bit louder than your normal talking voice. Not screaming, not yelling at your little brother or little sister, but you're trying to get somebody, your friend's attention from across the room. So that's forte. And then the next one we see is down at measure 27. You have MP, means mezzo piano. Say mezzo piano. Mezzo means medium or in the middle, and piano means soft. So it's medium soft. So a little bit softer than your normal talking voice. Not whispering, but not trying to get anybody's attention either. You're just casual. It's been a long week. You're ready for a nap. It's okay. That's mezzo piano. You have another one at 31, mezzo forte. That's mezzo, still the same word, mezzo forte. And forte, remember, above is loud, so medium loud. And that should basically be your talking voice. If you're just talking to your friends and you're normal, casual, everything, that's a good mezzo forte. And that's all the dynamics you have in this. You have one other funny little thing. If you look at measure after 39, it's measure 41, you have those X's instead of note heads. And it says on your paper, tap pencil on stand. You're going to do exactly that. You're going to take a pencil and you're going to tap it on your stand. And that's what's going to make the music for those couple bars. Everybody will be doing that. It also has a square note head down in the bottom on measure 43, and it says stomp. Guess what you're going to do there? You're going to stomp. Hopefully you have a nice hollow hardwood floor somewhere or something you can stomp on, but you're going to literally stomp right there. And the only other thing is above some of your notes, up at 13 and down at 49, you have a little greater than, less than looking signs. Those are called accents. Those mean you're going to emphasize that note a little more. We barely touched on this in class, but it's still probably new to you. So you're going to emphasize it with a little more air, a little harder articulation maybe, instead of 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Just a very slight difference. And then next to those, you have dots above some of the notes, just little dots above the note heads. That's a staccato. Say staccato. Staccato means separated. You're going to put separation, put space between each note. So instead of some people say staccato means short. You shorten the note by putting space in there, but don't think of it as short because that'll change how we play it. You still want it to be a nice big sound, but there's got to be space in between those notes. So staccato, that little dot, means to separate or space those notes. I think that's all the new things we have. One more maybe we didn't cover is we have that growing line under measure 8 and under measure 30. It's called a crescendo. I think we've talked about that, but it means to gradually get louder. So whatever you were at before or whatever the dynamic tells you afterwards, you've got to start a little softer. Make sure that you've got room to give it a little extra air. Air should still be fast. Air should still be good. You're just going to blow a little bit more of it, a little bit greater volume to get up to that higher dynamic level. So that does it for our walkthrough. That's everything you need to know about this piece. In part 2, we will go through the first 12 bars of this piece. So look for part 2, and we'll see you there.